All right, guys. Our next show that we're going to be talking about today that Disney announced was Ahsoka Tano. Yeah, again, kind of piggybacking off of this idea of the Mandalorian. Ahsoka Tano. Spoilers. Like anybody like whatever. Yeah, so she made an appearance in the Jedi episode of Mandalorian. Here in this synopsis from Comic Book Resource, they say Ahsoka is the second spin-off of The Mandalorian and stars Rosario Dawson as the fan favorite Ahsoka Tano. Originally created for the Clone Wars animated series, Ahsoka was Anakin Skywalker's Padawan and became one of the most popular faces of the animated series. I think this is a really cool idea. I never watched the Clone Wars. Everybody just is like, Mike, drop what you're doing. Watch Clone Wars. Watch the show that came on after. I can't remember the name of it.
The
Rebels.
Rebel,
Thank you.
Star Wars Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels. Everyone's like, oh, it's so great. It's so great. And I want to see it. I just haven't. You guys, there's so much time in a day, and you can't pack everything into that one day. But having seen Rosario Dawson play Ahsoka Tano in that one episode of Mandalorian, it was pretty cool. And I think the writing was on the wall that, like, come on. I think we all kind of knew that Ahsoka Tano spin-off series was in the works, was going to happen. Eric, where do you stand with the character of Ahsoka Tano? Did you watch Clone Wars? Are you interested in a series like this? Where do you sit?
First off, I believe, as everyone else has said, Mike, drop everything. Watch Clone Wars.
Fair.
uh, I'll be honest. I really enjoyed Clone Wars. It was not my favorite thing out there in
Yeah.
the world, but I think it was really well done, and I think they got some really good voice acting, and her character's fun. I mean, it really is. It's back to diversity again. We're getting a strong female that question. I mean, you know that Anakin's bad, and and sort of the Clone Wars sort of story is getting to watch
Mm.
his failure, and it gives us more meat as to it's not just the quick flip of I'm angry and now I'm bad and a villain. We get to see a little more of that turning take place, so that's really fun. But she questions a lot, and she questions being a Jedi, which is something that is a really interesting choice to make. I think in a world where a lot of us went Jedi, that's what I want to be, and I think there's some good questioning as to sort of the spiritual aspect and what's the true purpose of being a Jedi and what does it really mean to be a Jedi. And I think her character is really fleshed out in that. So to know that she was coming in Mandalorian, to know that they had cast Rosario Dawson, who I absolutely adore watching on screen, she excited me about it, and I worried because she first off is an amazing look, and I worried that that was going to look too hokey, but they did it so well to bring her to life on a live action thing that alone was worth it. Gain to get some really good. I mean, it's Disney. They can bring in some really good actors, and they have definitely done that in Mandalorian. So we get some good quality theater. And then we just have some fun writing. I don't think I was expecting a show, and I've heard rumors that maybe like a mini series
Mm.
type thing,
Yeah.
a little mini special, which I think I'd be happier with. I don't think I want to. I don't want to beat a dead horse, as it were. I don't. I want to make sure that I get some really good content, but I don't want to destroy all the fun stuff and wear the character out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the danger of uh, Star Wars in general. I think that's what made Star Wars so special when it first came out is that there were only well, first of all, there was only one movie to begin with. There were no prequels, there were no side stories, there were no comic books. It all started with a singular film in 1977.
And a risky
A
film,
very
a very
risky
risky
film.
film.
Yeah, if you like read some or watch some of those interviews and commentaries with George Lucas in the early days and Steven Spielberg as well, like it was a huge risk. I mean, now an entire franchise, not just a franchise, man, it's bigger than a franchise. What's bigger than a franchise?
I don't know.
A cultural movement?
Conglomerate. Yeah,
An
yeah.
entire cultural movement was built from this one radical space adventure that nobody had a lot of faith in, you know?
And it's a really simple story. It's good versus evil. There's no
That's it.
fanciness
That's
about
all it
it.
is. Just Joseph Campbell. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Harry Potter. That's all it is. But yeah, like when we had the original trilogy, I remember growing up. I was born in the 80s, kind of raised in the 90s, as I say. That's kind of when my like social consciousness kind of came into fruition, was the early 90s. And growing up with Star Wars, it was just Star Wars. And I think like for me, that's what made it special, because Star Trek focused for my taste a little too heavy into sci-fi. I'm not a huge sci-fi person, which comes as a shock to a lot of people. I'm not huge into sci-fi. It's okay. I was never into Star Trek, but Star Wars wasn't about the spaciness of it. It wasn't about the science fiction. It was about like the fun and the adventure. It's swashbuckling in outer space. That's what it is.
It's true. Star Wars is one of the least sfi
really
out there,
is.
and it's one of the biggest mainstream
Mm-hmm.
things. As a huge Star Trek fan, yeah, that does
true.
really put
It's
a nail
true.
in. Yeah, I don't need a life lesson necessarily, and I think we're getting life lessons now, but they're in little tastes, and I think that's maybe a little easier to digest as opposed to like a full episode on the structures of relationships and appropriateness, which is what
Well, it's
Star
also
Trek used to be
timely.
about.
It's also culturally like relevant right now, for those types of stories to be told. And with a vehicle like Star Wars to tell those stories, it becomes not just important, but also on a weird level, kind of their responsibility too.
You just said something that totally sparked an idea in my head, that we get something like Star Trek, which is us in our future, and it's a distant future, but it's not super distant, but it's us in the future. So Star Trek is hopefully being that thing that is guiding us toward an ideal of being better. Star Wars has an amazing cheat about that. At the very beginning, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's not us. It's never been us, because it's way before us. And so that everything that happens in Star Wars, we don't have to relate to. And I think there's something really delightful in getting to have some really cool characters when they're not us. They may look like us, but there ain't no Earth, and it's nowhere nearby, and we wouldn't even exist. So
hang on a
we
second.
get to do whatever we want.
Are you trying to tell me that the Force isn't real?
Midichlorians are totally real.
I don't know what those are.
And
no. I do not know what those are.
I will say I was so happy with Mandalorian until at one moment that they mentioned them briefly as related to the child or Grogu.
I mean,
and I was a little bummed. I'm like, oh, we were so close to not including them in our back.
I mean, I get it. It's like everything's connected. Even in Rise of Skywalker, even in the sequel trilogy, they tied things to this and they tied things to that. Like, I get it. It's canon. I may not like the prequels. You may not like the prequels. But the prequels have their fan base. There are people out there who love them dearly. And
I mean, I showed Amelia, my daughter, the first one. That was her first Star Wars movie, and I have to say, it's perfect for kids.
Gross. Bad parenting.
Yeah, well, but it's cartoony and silly and fun.
No, you're exactly right. It is.
And I do remember watching it the night it came out in the theater, standing in line, and I remember I enjoyed it. And then I watched it again and realized, did I?
I saw it in theaters 3 times, and I convinced myself that I love this film because Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
And then I watched it again in college when I had it on DVD, and I was like, you guys, Star Wars. And I loved it. And I was like, yeah, the pod racing scene, man, it's okay. Take it or leave it. And then I watched it, like, it slowly deteriorated. And then somebody said something like, the racism of Jar Jar Binks. And I was like, that's not a...
No. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Anyway, we really got off topic here. Ahsoka Tano is a series coming to Disney Plus. What do you think of it? Are you excited for it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share, because that is exactly what Scrooge McDuck would want you to do. DuckTales, woo!